Orto Verde. Today I thought I'd do an unboxing. It's always so exciting to get a delivery of plants. I've waited a long time for these. I've had them sort of in my wish list and I waited for a sale. The company that I'm unboxing from today is called Crocus here in the UK, and I've ordered some perennials and some shrubs. And I thought I'd show you how they get delivered in case you've never ordered online before and you're not sure about it, because maybe you always buy from nurseries, and buying from nurseries and supporting our local growers is definitely something that I do and I'm keen to keep doing. But it's also really fun to snap up some bargains. When you order online, you can also find different varieties sometimes than you would otherwise find in your local nursery. In this super exciting unboxing today, what I thought I'd do is show you how the plants arrive and how they're delivered, and then I thought I'd just describe the different plants that I've ordered and give you a bit more information about them in case you're interested and you're looking for plants for particular spots in your garden at this time. It really is a perfect time to be planting things at the moment. If your ground's not frozen, then it just gives them a few months to settle in while it's still cold and the light levels are low, and their roots start putting out feelers into the surrounding soil, and it just gives them an excellent chance to bed in. So if you can snap up some bargains in the January sales, it's like Christmas coming all over again, but in January. So I guess it doesn't matter which box I start with. I have opened these boxes already, only because I wanted, as soon as they arrive, I want to make sure that light gets into the boxes, but I wasn't able to record when they arrived. So I just opened the boxes and they've sort of been sitting open like this. I haven't actually taken anything out yet. So this is a small box here, and it's got some perennials in it, and they've come in like these plastic containers and they fit really snugly into the box. This is an enormous box here. So as I said, I've had the lid off it just to make sure that sunlight can get to it. But what it actually is an enormous box with very few plants in it, which is a bit disappointing really, because the box just didn't have to be this big. But I suppose they're just trying to make sure that, all the plants are well protected. So a lot of this brown tape you can just tear. It's like paper packaging tape. And then again, we've got these enormous plastic containers with just little pots in the bottom. And they have been taped very carefully so they don't fall over and the compost doesn't come out. And then around the sides, so I took those out of the middle, and then around the sides I've got 4 other plants, and they've been taped in as well. So each one of these plants has been wrapped in brown paper, and it's got an elastic band, a rubber band, holding that in. And I guess again, this is to make sure that the compost or soil doesn't fall out in transit. I'm taking the whole rubber band off because this paper itself can go on my compost heap. If I just tear it up, then it's a really good thing to add to your compost when you've got a lot of greenery going in your compost, which is quite often the case, when it's very sodden at this time of year. If you add some brown stuff into your compost too, it really helps it to compost properly. So with the brown paper, I always put it in the compost heap. What I thought I'd do now is just go through the plants that came in all those boxes, and actually you can see how well protected they are, because they've come and they're absolutely beautiful, just like you would pick them up from a garden centre. So none of the soil came out. So all that packaging does really help to maintain the freshness of the plants and make sure they're not damaged in transit. But I do feel like they were really large boxes for what I actually ordered, but it made it very exciting to receive such huge packages. So here at the front I've got 6 of these little shrubs or perennials here. They're called Aronia Brilliant, which is a very long name for something that is also called Mexican fleabane, and you've probably seen them around in lots of gardens. But they are the most wonderful plants where they just have absolutely masses of flowers, and I have found them to be extremely hardy in my garden, and I've had them for a really long time in various flower beds. But I'm a little bit impatient, and although you can take cuttings very successfully from these plants, I wanted something more substantial. And you can see that actually these plants, you know, they've got a lot of stems, they're very substantial, much more than a cutting would be. But what I want to do is plant those, I want to plant 3 into one pot in the summer. So what I end up with is this mound of daisies spilling over. So the flowers are tiny little daisies, I mean really tiny, you can't really pick them, maybe for a really small miniature vase. But they're tiny little daisies, but there's so many of them that it just makes this huge splash of colour. And they come out, they start white, and then they turn pinky as they get older. So you have this sort of variation of colour on the one plant anyway. Throughout its time, they flower for a really long time. I think they probably start flowering in May and continue right through to October. And you just don't have to do anything with these apart from, you know, cut them back a little bit in the spring if they're straggly, or the autumn you could cut them back. So those are the Salvia Amistad. And I absolutely love Salvia Amistad. If you've been following my channel, you'll know that I took some cuttings of some salvia that I have already in my front garden. The Salvia Amistad is going to grow to about just over 1 metre by about ½ a metre wide. So that's about, I think, 4 foot by 1.5 foot, something like that. But you'll get loads of branches of, you know, lovely long spires dotted with these gorgeously deep purple flowers. It's really hard to describe how wonderful they are. And they are going to flower from middle to late summer right through to the autumn. They were one of the last things flowering in my garden this year, and they're gorgeous, so definitely wanted some more of those. You can plant those in full sun or part shade, and in fact I should have said that about the Aronia. The Aronia obviously prefers full sun, they're daisies, but you can get away with putting them in a little bit of shade. The Salvia Amistad can cope with part or dappled shade, I would say, but they grow nice and tall, so I would make sure that they have a nice prominent spot in your border. So this is an anemone, a Japanese anemone, and it's called something like Conagin or Conagin Charlotte, and it's got these gorgeous sort of pink cup-shaped flowers. They're quite large, they're not too small. So this anemone grows to about 1.5 metres by about probably 60 centimetres wide. It's a really good spreader, and you can take root cuttings and create more. So I could have bought more of these, but I knew that I'd be able to take root cuttings from it, and I also know that the anemones really do spread in my garden. So anemones, the Japanese anemones, do like sort of part shade. They will tolerate full sun, but I tend to have mine in shadier spots. I wouldn't put them in full shade, but that's where I put them. And because they grow nice and tall, and because they only flower in the autumn, I tend to plant my Japanese anemones nearer the back of the border. So this is Persicaria daughter Superba, and it is a fantastic plant, especially if you've got somewhere that doesn't dry out in your garden, because it will not tolerate any dry soil. So what it is a plant where if it's in the right spot, it will have evergreen leaves. So it's called a semi-evergreen. If it's not in an ideal location, then maybe your leaves will drop off if it catches some frost or it gets very cold. So it's got semi-evergreen leaves and then these gorgeous spires, pink spires. What it creates, so what you have is sort of this plant that creates like ground cover with like pops of pink coming up. It grows to 1 metre by 1 metre, so that's about 3 foot by 3 foot. It will tolerate part shade. So it's really good, like if you've got like a place that doesn't dry out, like near a wall, that's where I'm going to plant mine, in the front garden. And you do need to give it space, so like don't cram it in because it's going to spread, it's quite vigorous. But that is an excellent plant, and I'm very happy to have one of those finally. So this is Salvia nemarosa Schwellenberg, which is quite a long name for what is basically just another sage. And I should mention actually that sage like the salvias are really good. If you deadhead them, they will keep flowering for you. So this particular one here has got like rosy pink to purple flowers, and it's got like a silvery leaf. It will flower for a really long period if you deadhead it. It's going to flower, you know, right through summer, through to late summer, and I should say how tall it grows. So I think it grows to about 40 or 50 centimetres by 60 centimetres, so you know it will spread, and these are really easy to divide. So what I've done is I've bought a 2 litre pot, and I'm hoping that by next year I'm going to be able to divide it and create maybe 3 plants. So I kind of economised that way by buying it as a 2 litre pot. And you can see that it's got absolutely loads of new growth already this year. And then the last one of my perennials is Lamium or Lamium. And again, this has got lots of lovely growth, and you can just make out these gorgeous sort of silvery leaves. And this one is called Beacon Silver, and that's why it's got these gorgeous silver leaves. Now, Lamium or Lamium, I don't know how you say it, is it's a ground cover plant. So it's really not going to grow very tall. It's going to grow like 15 centimeters tall. What is that? That's like half a foot maybe, but it will grow, you know, a good 2 or 3 feet. It will spread in all directions. And so it's got these sort of silvery leaves with like a green edge, and it will have like magenta purple flowers. So it's a fantastic ground cover plant because, you know, whilst it's just in leaf, the leaves obviously will get a lot bigger as the season goes on. You've got this gorgeous sort of mat of silver green, but then when it's in flower, you've also got the addition of colour. And I believe that I can definitely divide this plant and sort of spread it out a bit. And this is a great plant for planting underneath, you know, deciduous shrubs or even evergreens. So it's just a fantastic all-round ground cover, and you can plant it in full sun or semi-shade and it will be super happy. So the first shrub that I'm going to talk about is this one here, and this one is called Aronia Brilliant, and it's a purple chokeberry, and you can see that little buds are forming already. And so this is like a really nice 2 litre pot, and I'd say that's, you know, what is that? That's maybe 2 foot tall, 1.5 foot tall at the moment. And I think it's definitely been pruned. I can see where last year's prunings were, and I would say this is a very healthy plant. All the stems except for this one have got buds forming on it. So I'll tell you a little bit about it. I think it grows to about 2.5 metres tall and about 1.5 metres wide. I think that's like 8 foot by 5 foot, and it's a gorgeous plant that has white flowers in I think early summer to late summer, and they turn into these reddish purple berries that you can eat. You can make, I don't know if you can eat them raw, but you can definitely make jams and jellies out of these berries. But that's not what I wanted. I want it for firstly the flowers and the berries, but also in the autumn it has these gorgeous orange leaves that turn red and then fall off. You can see that it's, you know, deciduous. There's one of last year's leaves on that bit there. But that's what I've got here, and I am very excited about having this shrub in my garden. So the last plant I've got is this one here, and this is called a Dozier Montrose. And the reason I'm very excited about this plant is because I already have a Dozier in my garden. Not this one, it's like a double white flowered one, and I can't remember the name off the top of my head. But it is when it's in flower, it is absolutely smothered in bees. So I'm really hoping that this is going to be another great plant for the bees in my garden. So this one grows to, I think just over 1 metre by 1 metre, tall and wide, so 4 foot by 4 foot, something like that. It's got these gorgeous rose pink flowers. It's called Montrose, and they're kind of, I think they're star-shaped on this one. I'm not sure that they're double either, but hopefully they're going to be gorgeous. It's just a pink version of a Dozier that I really wanted, and these flower in like June and July, and they're really easy to look after because you can just prune out 1/3 of them, or the flowering stems, once they finish flowering, and then leave it alone for the rest of the year until you mulch it. But I really wanted another one of these because it's so good for the bees. So that is my plant haul from Crocus. If you've got any questions about any of the plants that I've ordered today, then do put a question in the description, in the comments below, and I'll get back to you. And if you found this video useful or interesting and fun, then please give it a thumbs up, because that really helps to tell YouTube that people are enjoying the video, and then YouTube will show it to more people. And hit the subscribe button if you want to see me planting these out and where I put them, and obviously I'll film them when they're in flower so you can see what they all look like. But that's about it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.